Hello! Math is hard. Wow, you can see the title already. Math is hard? Like that? No, math is hard. Boom. That's the whole video. We already know why. No, yeah, we're gonna try something. We're gonna try something new. We're gonna try vlog life, and ooh, wow, power of the sun. So we're gonna try something new, vlog life, and the whole point will be to show life. Wow, amazing. Math is hard, and the reasons in this video, yeah, so baby math is easy, but math when it becomes full-grown math is hard. I think it's the holding of the camera that's not being my friend right now, because there's so much going on. Look at that. Look at that. Look at, yeah. I've been doing math as a hobby. I'm doing like a few university courses. It was very fun. I can't really, I can't recommend. And the main reason why I can't recommend is because you have to be literally insane to do that out of your free will, which I am, so extra points for me. Why is it hard? I'm doing a course and it's called Groups and Rings, and it's about the mathematical, well, let's say it's like a subject in set theory, where you talk about sets and operations determined on those sets and how they interact and what you can define as substructures in those sets, and so on, so on, so on. So you start from monoids, which you can define as a set and an operation and a neutral element, and then you can do things with that. So you can go a step further and you can determine a group, and a group is when the inverse element of every element of X is, or the set is included in the monoid. And that's all fine, right? Yeah, no, wait. I think it's better to take a step back.
All right, I just wanted to show what I was actually talking about, because I feel like me just shouting in the camera different stuff is not really gonna help you in any way to understand what I'm talking about. Also, I made a little mistake. I said set theory, but it's like abstract algebra. So I guess it's a little, I don't know. Let's not go too deep into that. So let me just show what I'm talking about. So in the first place, little sketchbook. It's where I do my exercises. A lot of mistakes, a lot of wrong things, I guess. A few right things here and there, but yeah. But anyway, we were talking about. Let me just open up a new page. Here, there we go. So, in the first place, we were basically talking about how from, let's say, kindergarten. So if this is a timeline of your schooling years, right? Kindergarten, like elementary school, middle school, high school, and then everything from here on. Yeah, these are the college years. So let's just name them: elementary, middle school, high school, and then college or uni, right? Let's call this birth. Yeah, cool. Birth. So everything from here to pretty much here can be baby maths, and if you're lucky, let's say if you're lucky enough, it's like pretty much intermediate math, right? So, and what happens here is where you learn how to count 1 + 1, which is basic algebra. Functions, f of x equals y, something like that. Geometry, shapes, and how these translate in like a three-dimensional plane or a two-dimensional plane, something like that. So this would be like a surface or a field, something like that, with like trig, very elementary things. But the longer you go on with math, the more complex it becomes, because you evolve that knowledge where you just learn how to count to understanding what those things are, and basic proofing, so basic proofs. And then you evolve that knowledge into something more sophisticated. 1 plus 1 and 2 plus 3, for example, evolve into understanding that 2 is actually built up out of 1 plus 1. And you learn that those things, that those entities, if they are entities, actually make up the other entities, but all the other entities as well. That maybe they're not even entities, but if you have a scale, then it's an order where 0 is here, 1 is here, 2 is here, and so on. And that we're actually talking about distances, right? Between 0 and 1. And maybe not even that, but you're actually then, in a certain sense, you're understanding that between those entities necessarily there's no real difference. The symbol is different and it symbolizes 2 of this, but the entity itself is just the same as this one. And you can keep on building on top of that, which I find really, really interesting. And then if you come into college and uni, this type of math and understanding that this is a metric and stuff like that will evolve into, okay, how do I prove this? Which is where I'm at, right? And this is a pain in the ass. Oh Lord. Yeah, so, and specifically in this course, so in groups and rings, if you're a math buff, you already know what this is and what this is all about. If you don't know, let me shortly enlighten you. So bringing from here, we know that 1, 2, 3, and so forth are elements. They are elements of the set of natural numbers, for example, and we call this a set, but this set is actually an entity itself. How I envision it is more like a very fluid shape where all the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth are located in. Now, the thing is that you can do things with these sets. So you can take little bites out of them, and this can be a subset of n, for example. You can combine them. You can take like a union, which would be union, intersection, and so forth, right? Very cool stuff. But then you can also look at these sets and define a random set x, which is, let's say, a very homogeneous shape, and x has elements a, b, c, and so forth. E, very important because we'll need this one. And what the fun thing about this is that if you take these elements, you can do things with them, right? Like n, you can count them. You can do like an addition, so you can do plus. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. But you can do the same for a random set with random entities in them. So A, B, C. So we can take A and B, and we can, to shorten the whole story, we can kind of do like a set multiplication with them, or a multiplication with them. So we can multiply them, and then we have A times B, or A multiplication B. This is a new element, and we can check if this is an element of X, for example. These things are things that you can check, and if this works, then you know, okay, cool, these are elements of this set, and you know this set has that specific, let's say, in Dutch you would say eigenschap, characteristic. There you go. If this is then again a part of that set and we can do this with it, then we say, okay, for every A and B part of that set X, we know that if we do the multiplication, then it's also part of X. If that is the case, then we know, okay, cool, this might be what we call a monoid, right? Or wrong. I guess you don't know, but if you know, very cool. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comments. Always helps me out. A monoid, which is like, for my course, what I'm doing is like, it's like the most elementary entity that we can talk about, or like construction. A monoid knows or has three basic characteristics. So one, it consists out of a set. So in this case, X. We know that it has elements on which we can do a multiplication, which means the multiplication is our operator. So let's say multiplication is operator, and if we have an element E for which A times E equals A, then we know E is our neutral element. Also, if it's abelian, normally it should be, because E is either way neutral element, so in either way E times A should also be A. E is neutral element. There we go. So these three characteristics define a monoid. And if we have a monoid, we write that as this construction. So X multiplication E, or X E multiplication, depending on what you're used to. And this is another entity. This is an entity that allows us to talk about sets and operations defined on those sets, and a lot of different underlying mechanisms that define that, which is interesting, I think. If we take one more step, we can go from monoid to group. And a group, so we take that same set X, we take the same multiplication, and we take the same neutral element, and then we know, okay, this is the monoid underlying the group. X star E is monoid that's underlying group X, right? But for it to be a group, we need to know that for all elements A from X, or from monoid, or in this case monoid X, we need to know that the inverse is also an element of X. You can check that in multiple ways, but if you have every element has its inverse in X, then you know, okay, this is a group. Cool. And then this allows us to check a whole bunch of new characteristics, a whole bunch of new substructures, and for example, it allows us to define a subgroup. So you would take, let's say X is a group, then you can define an X accent, which is a subgroup with basically the same characteristics. You would write it like that. You would have to look. X accent is a subgroup. If and only if, I know it's very, very detailed, but if and only if X accent isn't empty, so isn't the empty set, which is very important. And for all AB element X accent, we have that we can find A, B, or AB inverse, which is also an element of X accent. And of course, very important, that X accent is a subset of X. If you don't have this one, then you can forget looking for these. So, but this is like an implicit requirement, because without this one, you can't really check if this isn't, if it's in or isn't. And this again leads you in a deeper path into like the whole, let's call it it would lead you down the path. It's like a rabbit hole. You keep on finding new structures, new reasons. So for example, you can find the subgroup H, for which you can define a quotient group of X, which would be XH, and this would be the set of all left cosets and for which x is an element of x, I guess. And you can keep on going. So, but after a while it gets really obfuscated because you have a lot of layers you have to work with. Yeah, you can keep on building on top of this. You can find, let's say you have the inverse of this one with h subgroup of x. You can find like the other coset, or like the other quotient group hx, for example. You can have a map. You can have a bijective map. Yeah, anyway, I feel like I'm already boggling you with a lot of information here, and it comes down to you can start with something so simple as a 1 or a 2 and so forth, and you can keep on building to more complex structures like this, like groups. You can even build on top of that and create rings, and those rings have their own characteristics and so on. And I guess what I want to say is that it's a very painful process, and I got work to do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know who would do this in the right mind. Still looking for the reasons in my mind, but I actually love this, so that's a whole other discussion right there. I guess that suffices, or that concludes our little thingy, because I feel like if I would go in deeper detail, this would not make sense anymore. I guess it barely makes sense for anyone right now. So yeah, cool. All right, end of this part.
So anyway, if you survived the whole rambling and you're still here, then I congratulate you, because I might love my own voice, but maybe you don't. I think that's it. I think if you want to see more of that and like in actual detail and maybe something prepared, then I can do that in the next video. If you don't like it, then well, there will be other content in the next coming days. I'm trying to do a daily vlog, and today was specifically on mathematics. Tomorrow it will probably be on, I don't know, coding, I guess. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. So yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm trying something new, so don't shoot me. I'm still figuring out this whole new thingy. But yeah, see you in the next one. Bye bye.